Oh, right. You never know just how important that next cup of coffee is going to be until the pot is empty. My goodness. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good night to all of you out there, wherever you happen to be in the world. My name is Voice of Wind, and this is another sewing stream. Where's my camera? Oh, it's one of those days. It's always one of those days, isn't it? Hi, how you doing? I'm Voice of Wind. I'm a professional, I swear. And by professional, I mean that all of my profits go to charity. That's at hrc.org. They fight for LGBTQIA plus rights around the country and around the world. And I don't collect a profit on this. So if you like what you see, please feel free to donate, subscribe, or head on down to the comments section below, the About section, and check out the donate button there where you can donate to the HRC directly. I would appreciate that greatly because I don't need the money. I don't want the money. I want it to go to something that's going to benefit a greater group of people, which I happen to be a part of. I'll admit it. There's a little bit of, selfishness in that, and that it's going to help me out as well, but it's going to help out the greater community at large. So if you do want to support me and the things I do here, support me by supporting all of our rights. So that's all I have to say on that. So as I dip the camera down, let's take a look at what we're actually dealing with today. So we're going to do an unboxing, and I'm going to explain why we're doing an unboxing. And then we're going to fix the bra that we were working with last time. Well, isn't this just the perfect music for this? It's sad, it's got a little sorrow. We're gonna wish our machine a proper burial. It is what it is, right? Okay, so this is our old machine. This is what we were using before. And I absolutely love this machine. It's treated me so well over the years. This is a Brother CS6000i. It's a computerized machine. And I've used this for somewhere between 10 and 15 years now. It's been serviced maybe 3 times in its existence. And it was a fantastic little machine for the cost I got it at, which was probably around $200, $250 when I first got it. The time that I've had it for has been fantastic. It came with a lot of accessories. It's a great little machine. It could stand to have a more powerful motor in it for the things that I've used it for, like 3 or 4 different stacks of denim, things like that. But it's a great little machine. It's a fantastic starter machine, and it's still available today. Brother still makes this machine. They label it as the Project Runway machine these days because you've got to appeal to that mass media audience that consumes television, right? So this is my old machine, and I have a feeling that I'm not going to be able to get a very good view on this because it is a little bit heavy. But last time when we were sewing on this, under this plate here, hello Dogs Rule, good to see you. Under this plate here, there is a bobbin casing. And this bobbin casing, of course, holds the bobbin. And so we'll get an up close on that. So at essence, there's just this little metal plate on the bottom of it. It holds the bobbin, and it's got this little brush on it that helps to keep things clean. And basically what this does is it rotates just a little bit, and this hook up near my index finger grabs the thread and then loops it back on the thread that's coming from the upper needle, and it creates that looping motion, right? And what ended up happening is my upper needle came down, the bobbin casing went too far, and there's a piece on this bobbin casing right next to where this brush is that is raised up higher than the rest of it, right? So you can kind of see it there in profile. It's a little bit higher than the rest of the bobbin casing. It went crashing up against a piece of aluminum that's inside of here, and it destroyed it, utterly destroyed it. And I know I can't show that to you. This machine is too heavy to pick up. But it damaged that piece to the point that I can't fix it, and I don't want to pay to fix it, because to get my local machine shop to even take a look at this thing would be well over $100. And this is an older machine, and the chance of them fixing it and replacing the casing and getting this machine back to full working order is probably on the order of $150 to $200, which is almost the same cost as getting this machine brand new. And I had a little bit of extra money lying around in the form of our stimulus payment, because I had not used that yet. I was saving it for a graphics card. You know, what are those for? Silly little things. And so I decided, instead of getting a graphics card, that I would invest in a new sewing machine. Something that's a little more powerful and that is a little bit better for the projects that I have worked on in the last year and a half or so. And so what I think I will do is work on this machine on the side. I'll purchase the parts in here that I know are damaged, because they shouldn't be that expensive. I'll fix this up to the point that I know it's working again, and I will probably sell it on the neighborhood app or Craigslist or something like that for 20 to 30 bucks, and get it to someone in the community that can actually use a sewing machine so that they can learn on this thing as well. Because there's nothing that's really wrong with it other than that bobbin casing had an issue. And I don't know if it's because it was damaged and used or it was just its time, but a little TLC for this machine would be fantastic. And someone that is new to sewing, I think, would have a fantastic time with this machine, because there's nothing else wrong with it. However, that being said, I needed an upgrade. And so I've gone and made that upgrade. So I'm gonna grab my new machine and we're gonna unbox. So, big old box. Let's see if we can get that in frame there. So this is, I don't know if it's said Janome or Janome. Janome. That's what everyone says, so we'll go with Janome. It is the HD3000 model. I picked this up at the local sewing shop. I believe that this machine normally retails at over $500, which I think is ludicrous. However, my local machine shop had a huge sale, so I got it for right around half that price, which is right around the same price that I would have paid for the machine that we just set aside. So it's a massive upgrade in terms of what I'm actually getting. It's going to increase my stitches by about double, so going from about 400 stitches a minute to about 800. We have a more powerful motor. It's going to be able to go through multiple layers of denim without any issues, and it's a better quality machine. The insides of it are entirely metal. It's a little bit heavier duty machine, and you'll see when we open it that it's just a nicer machine overall. So let's go ahead and get into that, and we'll see what we've got. So in terms of opening, I'm only going to use a pair of scissors, and these are not my sewing scissors. It is especially important that I point out once again that the scissors that you use for sewing are not the scissors that you use for anything else ever. Keep them separate. Super important. All right, let's get into this. So this box, while it is intact, the plastic was damaged a little bit in shipment, and I think that's probably fine, but we're gonna get into this pretty quick and get our brand new machine. Alright, so in terms of what we actually have in the box, we have the warranty right off the bat, which no one's actually going to read, but is probably important. I'm not going to read the entire warranty here for you, but essentially there is a limited 25-year warranty on this machine. Most of your high-quality machines are going to have the same style of warranty that's going to apply to Jukis and Husqvarnas and all of the rest. So we'll see if we can't get that in frame. Probably can't read the whole thing, but they're all going to be the same. It's a limited 25-year warranty, As long as you're not, throwing your machine across the house like a football, it should be covered. And that's also going to be 10 years on the metal components and 1 year on the circuitry, so the computerized components. And that's going to be about the same on all of your parts, all of your machines. We also have an English instruction book and a Manual de Instrucciones in Spanish, which is a sideways manual, which is interesting. Our English instruction book is going to tell us the components of the machine as well as the additional accessories. So we'll take a look at those when we get that out. This machine comes with a couple of extra feet, which is really nice because Janome feet are around $25 to $45 each. So when you consider that we're getting, it looks like 2, 4, 6 feet, we're getting about 6 times 20, at the minimum $120 worth of feet with this machine, in addition to the machine itself, a little screwdriver, a brush, and some minor accessories. So it's nice to be able to get started with more than just the standard foot. We'll look at more of the instructions later if we need them. Hopefully we don't, but it's always worth looking at the thread guide to start. The Spanish instruction manual is very much the same kind of layout, except that it is in profile, which I find to be interesting. I don't know why they decided to do that for the Spanish manual and to have that done in a landscape mode instead of a profile kind of setup. Very interesting. But we've got 2 manuals, one in each of the standard languages for here in the US. I would imagine that in any other country that this is shipped in, that you would get a manual in those languages as well. And now that we've covered all of that fun stuff, we'll set those aside and get to the machine itself. There's the accessories pack. More styrofoam than you can shake a stick at. Here's our pedal. And the machine itself. So the entire box weighed about 28 pounds. So the machine itself, I believe, weighs in at right around 24 pounds. Which is a decent weight for a machine, considering that the insides are all metal. Set the case aside. So the pedal for this machine is also going to control the electronics for the machine. So it's got a standard plug and the plug for the wall, and our pedal is a pressure sensor. Pretty typical for all sewing machines to have something very similar to that. And apparently we need to save the instructions on how to use the pedal. That's key. So we have nice little instructions like do not allow to be used as a toy. Use only as intended. Never operate if the cord or the plug is damaged. Never operate with the air openings blocked. I didn't know that that was an issue. Yeah, new sewing machine, Smog. Welcome, welcome. Do not use outdoors. I didn't know that using a sewing machine outdoors was an issue. Don't unplug by pulling the cord. You actually have to grasp the plug. That's always good to know. Yeah, definite wow. All right. So I don't know why we would ever actually need to keep these instructions. I mean, if you know how to use a sewing machine, you probably know how to use the foot. So taking a look at the machine itself, this is quite a bit heavier than our old machine. So just kind of setting them side by side. Yeah, new sewing machine reveal. Hello, Araz. How are you? This is the new one, right? And we'll set it next to the old just for a bit of comparison. And the old is much, much lighter. So if we set it kind of right on top, you can tell by this being so much closer that the harp is much, much bigger. That's the area between the needle and the inside of the arm here. So we're getting quite a bit more room here. That's going to give us more room to work with the fabric. And in terms of stitches, we're dropping from 59 stitches down to just 18. But I'll tell you from experience that when I'm sewing clothing, I use 3 stitches. There's only 3 stitches you ever need. Straight stitch, zigzag, and maybe once in a blue moon you'll use a buttonhole stitch. And that's it. That's all you need for sewing. If you're going to use embroidery or you're going to go into fancier stuff like what you would use in quilting, you really wouldn't want to use a machine like this anyways, because this area here is not enough room for a quilt to fit in. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend either of these for quilting. It would be a good place to start and practice for smaller things, but you'd really want to get a long arm for quilting. And at that point, you're not going to be using these stitches for quilting anyways. You're going to do all of it by free motion. So, great little machine to start off with. Let's get this looked at. We'll check out what's involved in it, and then we'll see how it works. So we're going from a mostly plastic machine to a mostly metal machine. Good upgrade. Okay, so we have our little accessories holder here that has our buttonhole foot. And in our accessories kit, we're going to have the rest of the feet that are provided, along with a couple of bobbins and screwdrivers and things like that. So we've got the cute little miniature screwdrivers that are provided for us. I love how sewing machines always provide the cutest little screwdrivers. I don't know when you would ever use something like this outside of a sewing machine, because they're just kind of ridiculous. You can't use them anywhere else. You can't get torque on them. They're only ever usable on a sewing machine, but they're super cute. We have an extension to use for your thread holder here. So you can use 2 different threads on this machine. We have a tiny little brush and a pick for cleaning the machine. And these are absolutely useless too. The brush is always too tiny. It's useful, but not nearly as useful as getting a standard brush or a paint brush or really any brush. They provide a seam ripper, which doesn't have a ball on the end, so it's only about half as useful for a seam ripper as it could be. And you don't ever want to hold a seam ripper like this for any real amount of time, because again, it's super, super tiny. It's like a miniature seam ripper, and you're going to get hand cramps with something like this. So invest in something that's worthwhile. I highly recommend it. Something like this seam ripper would be fantastic. You can pick them up on Etsy. You can pick up ones at the sewing machine shop where you bought your sewing machine that are going to be fantastic for that use. So don't stick with the garbage that's sent with your sewing machine. It's almost as bad as the e-waste that's sent with a new computer. You know, you're not going to use that keyboard for very long before you upgrade to something that's actually useful. So that can just be set aside because we're never going to use that. They sent us 4 bobbins, which is nice. These are plastic bobbins. I don't know how well they're going to last, but, you know, they're good enough. They'll do what we need them to do. We have a tensioner, I believe. You put this on top of the thread. So it acts on the opposite side of the thread holder, and it helps to tension just a little bit for your thread, and that's going to be used on the inside of the machine, specifically this top portion here. We'll check out the instructions for that. And that's part of what this felt is going to be used for as well. Ooh. So that provides friction here. They gave us a couple of needles to start, which is really nice of them. A pack of needles like this is usually between $4 and $8, depending on brand. Cheaper brands are going to be less, but they're not going to last as long. And then we have the actual feet. So I don't know what all of these feet are specifically, but we've got one that's got a see-through component to it. We have a zipper foot, so that allows the zipper to get really, really close to the actual edge of the entrance there, so you can see how it's kind of raised up there. That allows the zipper's teeth to get really, really close to the needle. And the needle actually goes in on the curved surfaces right here and on the other side, because there's two sides to a zipper, right? This foot is specifically used for joining two pieces of fabric together and keeping just a bit of space between them. So it's got this little black piece that is used for just separating those two pieces of fabric. It has other uses as well, but I've never used a foot like this before. For normal clothing, you don't see it much. And then the last non-standard foot provided is for curling the fabric over and making, for hems? A rolled hem foot. Yep. So it basically curls the fabric in on itself just a little bit and then sews through the top of it so that the fabric won't fray. It can be used for lingerie as well. And I'm not sure what this foot is for. It has some grooves on the bottom of it. And much, much larger than the standard foot. It also has a tensioning component on the back of it. I'd have to look at the instructions for that. But definitely an interesting foot. I'm not going to worry about it now because I've never used a foot like that. I would imagine that it's used for a specific type of fabric and that this plastic at the back is used for extra tension specifically for this foot. So it's probably used for, like I said, a specific type of fabric. And then the very last foot is the foot that's included with the machine itself. And that's the standard sewing foot. And the one provided by Janome has a little bit of clear plastic on the top of it so you can see the fabric entering in. And that's all the feet provided with this machine. So again, pretty good selection. And we'll take a look at the innards of the machine as far as top goes here. Because one of the reasons that I really like this machine, as I was looking at it, is that most of the components get stored up in the top. So we can see here, all of the stitches are shown, right? And along with the stitches being shown, the feet that you should use are shown as well. And every foot has a compartment for it. So this foot is labeled as foot B, and it has a place for it here. So all of the feet that were provided with the machine have a specific place for them within the machine that's not in a little bag that's stored away under the machine, so I won't end up losing these. And that makes me really happy. Yeah, being able to store the extra pieces is super helpful. Alright, so in terms of the components inside here, I'm not sure on all of these pieces just yet, but this dial here is going to be the thread tension. This little plastic rod here is going to be specifically for holding the thread. So, as a for instance, this thread would go there. And then our little tensioner with its felt. I don't think that fits on there. It's only for that one, correct? I will consult the instructions. It'll be the only time you ever see someone consult instructions. Wild. Okay, so it doesn't need the felt. It just goes on as a pin on top. There we go. And that provides just a little bit of tension so that the spool of thread doesn't spin. It just pulls the thread off. And I have the thread on backwards, where it will catch on the little tooth that's used there to hold the thread. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that around. There we go. So we'll start loading these things up as we figure out what they do real quick. So over here, this little metal peg is the bobbin winder. And we will need to wind a bobbin soon enough. So I'm just going to toss a bobbin on there to remind me what that's for, because that's the bobbin we'll be using. And there are a couple of guides on here. They're very, very hard to see, but they show the direction for the thread to go for winding the bobbin. And there's a little picture on there for them. I have a feeling, even if I get this nice and close, you won't be able to see that. So you can kind of see that little picture of the bobbin just above the black dial that has 2 and 3 on it. So that shows you where that thread moves. This black dial itself is tension, and it's the tension for the foot that's underneath here. That foot is here. So that's the amount of pressure that it's pushing down with, and you can adjust that for this machine with this little dial. So very easy to change that. And the thread itself is going to loop down through here, back up, and back down again, which is standard for most sewing machines. Hey, thank you, Stephanie. How are you doing today? And that seems to be most of what we need for this sewing machine. So other than that, we have a slider here for the width of stitches. We have a slider here for the length of stitches. And then we have our guide for the stitches themselves. We've got a buttonhole and quite a few options for other stitches themselves, but really all we're going to be concerned with is the straight stitch and the zigzag stitch, because that's pretty much where we're going to live with our sewing machine. The reverse here is a nice big button, which is going to make things really convenient for reversing instead of just having a teeny little button like most sewing machines have. And I think that's all we need for this. So we're going to get into it. We're going to wind up this bobbin, and we're going to take care of the bra that we were looking at last time. We'll fix that up, and we'll see if this doesn't solve the issues that we had of our sewing machine. I personally don't keep accessories inside the little accessory compartment because I don't like taking off this component over and over again. I find it to be kind of a pain in the butt to take it off and open and then put it back on after it's closed and all of that. So for all of these components, I have my little accessories tub that has my tweezers, my chalk, my little tape measure, and a couple of pins and needles and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and set those in here. I've got a couple extra bobbins, which I'm just going to set in here for the time being. The machine already has a needle in it. I'm not sure what kind of needle though, so I'm going to grab the stretch needle that we were using last time, and we'll use that. Hopefully the needle works. They should be universal. Most of the time they are. And this should be everything that we need. I'm going to keep the tweezers out. We'll almost certainly use those. And we'll move on from there. You gotta love when the ambient music just works pretty much all day. So when the brother was out here and we were wishing it a fond farewell, we had a song on that was somber and sad and it just fit. And now, as we bring up the new machine, we're listening to a song called Multithread. And I think that's so fitting. It's almost like it was all planned. I'm gonna go ahead and follow the guide that we've got for our bobbin here. So with the old one, I actually had to wrap the bobbin initially, and it looks like with this one, I don't have to do that. I just kind of go, and it takes care of the rest. So let me get some of this thread back on here, so that we're not working with so much. And all I've got to do is get the thread through the top hole of this bobbin, seat it, and then hold it and let it go. So I'm going to move it over so it knows that we're doing the bobbin, and we'll give it a go. Well, I can already tell you that this is far quieter than the old machine. I'm really happy with that. You don't realize just how loud a machine is until you have to wind a bobbin, and the entire neighborhood can hear it. Very cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and insert this in. Oh. And then we'll need to thread our needle. So we're going to go around this little gasket. And then I need to raise the needle up just enough that I can see this clip here. There we go. And then the rest of the threading is going to follow the rest of the guides that are on the machine or in the instructions provided. I haven't used an auto threader like this before, so this is a bit new for me. Ooh, that's nice. I have to say, little life enhancers, like a good auto threader on a sewing machine, are super, super nice. Okay. Take that down and bring our thread up from the bobbin casing. There we go. And we should be good to go now. So, from unboxing to ready to sew in under an hour. Not too shabby. So, where were we last time? Right? What were we working with? Let's take a look before we hop on in. So, this is a bra that I got from, let's just say, a close friend. And it's a Victoria's Secret bra, which are well known for their seamless bras, and they're only seamless at the top, right? They still have to do a seam for the wires. Because if you don't do a seam on the wires, then eventually they're going to break out of this little casing, and they're going to start poking bits that they shouldn't be poking, right? So, the way that they achieve wire-free on the other areas is they do heat bonding. So there's basically a layer of glue that's under this fabric that is heat bonded together. And reapplying heat doesn't rebond this fabric together. And so what we're going to do instead is we're going to turn this from a seamless bra into a seamed bra. And I don't mind doing that because it's just a standard t-shirt bra, right? So if someone sees a seam on a cup, so what? I don't care. I just need something that's going to fit well, right? So you can actually see where this bonding has started to come undone and the strap is no longer holding. And we've got this stretch fabric on here. And so we're going to go ahead and deal with that by just doing a quick zigzag stitch across pretty much the entire top of the cup and the side of the cup to reinforce not only where it's come undone from this bonded glue, but also the rest of it, so that if that glue doesn't hold up over time on the rest of the cup, that it at least has that reinforcement of stitching. So I'm just going to move the fabric into place where it needs to be, and I'm going to sew it in. And in places where it's still heat bonded and holding together, I'm just going to sew right over the top of it. So we're going to reinforce right and left hand sides and both sides of the cup. And once that's done, this bra is going to be usable again. So there's no reason to throw it away because the elastic is still good on it, the hooks are still good on it, the straps are still good on it. You know, I want to make this little fix to it so I can keep using it for a little while longer. And especially if it's only, 30 cents, $1 worth of thread, it's absolutely worth that instead of buying a new bra. So we're going to take that and give that a shot. I need to swap to a stretch needle. I forgot that I haven't done that yet. So we'll do that real quick. And then we're going to put a couple of pins in the bra. We'll zoom through that and we'll be done with our stream. Now that that needle is in, let's see what we can do with this. So I think I just need 1 or 2 pins to kind of keep this fabric in place. And this doesn't have to be perfect because what we're sewing is on the inside of the cup. I just don't want the old glue here to be something that gets felt, because feeling it would not be all that fun a thing to do. So I'm just making sure that this covers all of that old glue. And I could probably use some kind of solvent to get the glue off, but I'm afraid that that would damage the fabric. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not doing that. So I've got just enough pins in here to hold the fabric very quickly. I'm going to make sure that my stitch is on the correct stitch. And then I'm going to widen my width to, I believe we had it set to about 3.5 or 4 millimeters last time. So I'm going to go with that again. And a stitch length of 2 millimeters seems about appropriate. I think that's a good amount. Let's make sure that we've got the right stitch chosen. So in this machine, a zigzag is number 12, and this is all mechanical. So there's no computer components for this selection, which is really, really nice. I believe it's a cam that's inside of this that controls that. And having those mechanical components means that this machine is going to last for a very, very long time. So let's give this a shot and dig on in. For the pressure on this, I'm going to set it at a 2 at the halfway mark. I believe. 3 looks like it's default pressure. Maybe I should just stick with that. Stick with the factory default and see if that works. We'll set the tension at the midway point to start, and we'll see how it goes from there. I believe that covers everything else we need. It says we can use foot C or A for a zigzag. So this is foot C, and that's the one where we talked about joining different pieces of fabric together. So we could use this to join those 2 pieces of fabric, where that zigzag sits on both sides of the fabric. So this is in fact a joining foot. So that helps confirm things. Very cool. I dig it. Alright, let's hop on in. Let's get this done. I've got some chores to take care of a little later. So, I want to see if we can just bust through this real quick. Not to be confused with the bust that a bra would hold. I know, terrible joke. I'm not apologizing for that one. That stitch width is much too big. Well, this is just going through it so easily, I feel like I must be doing something wrong. My last machine, the brother struggled with this so much because of all of these layers of foam and metal that are in this bra. Do the side real quick, then I'll give you a look at the fix that we've done, and then I'm going to take care of the other cup really quickly, and that'll pretty much be it. So what took entirely too long last time and ended up being the finisher for my old machine ends up being a project of relative ease for the new machine. And that, to me, is just such a wonderful feeling. It makes me realize that part of the reasons and part of the motivations for getting the new machine were absolutely warranted. So I am absolutely happy with this decision so far. Okay, now I'm going to increase the width on this stitch, and I'm going to get the strap just a bit because you can see that the strap is separating just a bit here. So I am going to hit the strap as well. And the strap has some crystals on the front of it, which I'm not too worried about them falling off. However, I don't want to sew into those crystals. So I'm going to turn it so I can actually see those crystals. And I'm just going to try to make sure that I don't hit them. This is one of those times where taking off the little accessory plate is going to come in handy so that we can wrap the strap. And let's take a quick look at our work right after. I'm going to do the last little bit by hand, just again to make sure that I don't hit those crystals. And back it up a bit. Good. Okay, so I have a couple of threads to tie off here, but let's take a look at the new machine and its work. So from the top, this is what's visible. you can see now that we've got this single seam running along the top of the cup. Come on, focus. There it is. So there's that single seam going along the top of the cup. There's the single seam on the side of the cup. And I just ran one very quickly along the strap. And it still maintains all of its stretch. And that's the beauty of that zigzag stitch. And the portion that we were worried about, this area where the glue was separating now, is completely bonded again. Exactly where it should be. So this strap is going to hold, hopefully, for at least a few more months, if not a few more years. It's probably not going to last that long, but I'll get a little bit more use out of this before this bra is done. So I'm going to do the other side very quickly, and that's really all there is to it. I'm going to take care of that off stream because I do have some other things to engage in, but I wanted to make sure that we covered this because I think that being able to repair garments that you've already got is super important. And this is one of those easy ones that if you've got a machine that can get through the layers of foam that are here, is absolutely worth it. So I could have done this with my old machine and just run the entire thing by hand as well, since the motor could not handle this. But it's absolutely worth it. And you can see it didn't deform the shape of this in any way. All of the fabric is still in place, nice and even, and I'm going to be able to use this for quite a while to come. So that's all I've got for today. We've done our unboxing. I'm super happy with the results, and I love this machine. It's something that I don't think I even need to mute anymore on stream. It's probably half or a quarter of the volume of the old machine, and I'm super stoked. So, with all of that said, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today. I hope that you are hydrating and taking care of yourselves. I hope that you're having a fantastic weekend, and that if you have it off, that you are taking the time for self-care and healing and whatever you need in your life to take care of you. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. It's been a big weekend for a lot of us around here in terms of self-care and in terms of work. You know, you do what you got to do. I hope that you're breathing through the jump scares, and I hope that you have a fantastic afternoon, evening, morning, or night, whatever it happens to be, wherever you are in the world. Take care, friends. Bye.